Hi folks, I'm Scott of Scotty's Gunworks, and what I thought we'd do today is make another video. This is going to be another rust bluing video where we're bluing some double barrels, just double barrels on a double barrel shotgun. And basically what you want to do when you use this method here, and I've explained on it in previous videos, the dicropan bluing IM is what we used on our last video. In this video here, we're going to use Markley Express Bluing, which does a really good job. I'm really impressed with it. I've used it before, and it does a real good job. It seems to me like it's more forgiving than the dicropan bluing IM that we used on the last video. I'm gonna kind of go over the steps with this and kind of show people, you know, how I would do this. And it seems to go on a lot easier and seems to do a lot better job. At least it has been on the last barrels I've done. Now we're fixing to do a set of double barrels, and hopefully it'll do really good on these as well. So we're going to find out. But what I wanted to do is I kind of wanted to show people the reason why you'd rust blue a double barrel, as I've explained on the last video. Now this right here, you'd use this on a soft soldered barrel. You wouldn't want to use it on a silver soldered barrel. You could, but if it's silver soldered, you can blue that in the bluing tanks, you know, the oxidant number 7. But this right here is what is a soft soldered barrel. Now I'm going to show you what to look for. Now you'll see here, you'll look on the ends here, and you'll see that it's gray. There's no yellow tint to it whatsoever. I hope everybody can see that on the camera. But there's no tint to it whatsoever, no yellow tint. Even on this end right here where I cut it off, it's, you know, no yellow tint there to be seen. And looking through the seams here, that's another good place to look. Take a wire wheel, you know, and hit it and clean it up real good. And in this case here, it's kind of got the gray look all the way across there. If you can see that, I hope you can. It's just all gray, so that tells me that this is a soft soldered barrel. And usually the older barrels are the ones that are going to be soft soldered. These are my samples here that I have for myself. And then we got a silver soldered barrel. This is one that you could rust blue it, but be best just to go ahead and put this in the oxidant number 7 after you prepare it and get it polished. But here's how you find out. And you'll notice on this right here, it's got a yellow tint to it. I hope everybody can see that on the camera, but it's a yellow tint there. That tells you that it's silver soldered all the way up. And of course on this end right here, I don't know if you can see it as good on this end right here or not, but it too has the yellow tint to it. And even in the seams right here, kind of got a yellow tint to it up through there. The barrels we're fixing to rust blue, they're silver soldered at the chamber end, but then they took and they soft soldered it throughout the rest of the barrel. So obviously, you know, it ain't gonna come loose on the silver soldered end, but it probably will come loose on this end up here where it's soft soldered. So we don't want it to come loose. So what we're going to do is we're just going to rust blue it. We'll go in here in the bluing room. I've got the barrel set out here on the little table right here, or the little fixture that holds it, and I've got some hold sprayed on it. I've done polished it down. That right there is just hold, so it won't rust. So once I clean it real good, that will be all off of there. But basically what we're going to do is we're going to clean this up real good. I'm going to go over some steps here in a few minutes. In the dicropan bluing IM video, I used steel wool. Now you can incorporate this method in with the dicropan bluing IM solution if you want to, which I would suggest you do it. It's a whole lot easier than using the steel wool. And what it is, it's a wire wheel right here. You see that? I've incorporated this in with it, and what that does is that's going to do the same thing as the steel wool would do. Only it's going to be a whole lot more accurate, and you ain't going to be working yourself crazy by carting all that off by hand. That wheel right there does a really good job. Traveling probably about 800 RPMs, you know, not a real fast wheel. But the first thing you want to do, and I'm going to go over the steps here with you, and the first thing you want to do is clean it. So what I always do is take it off, carry it in there, and clean it in detergent. rinse it real good, and then what I'll do is I'll bring it back in here and I'll spin it and dry it real good, and then I'll spray acetone on it. And I'm gonna go over them steps, and that way everybody will know that it's real important to have either super clean steel wool or a super clean carding wheel. So I'll go ahead and take this off, and we'll go in there and we'll go over the cleaning process on this, or how I do it, and then we'll bring it in here and we'll get started. All right, here we are in the cleaning room, we'll call it, for the day. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of go over how to clean this wheel here. You want to make sure you clean it before you start a new job. Basically, just got some dishwashing liquid in here, detergent. You just basically want to stick your wheel down in there, and it's a stainless steel wheel, so you ain't got to worry about it rusting. And it's pretty clean anyway. Just kind of want to wipe it around in there real good. Make sure there ain't no grease left behind in that. Make sure you wear your gloves, because you don't want to touch it. You don't want to get no grease or oils on this. I mean, it don't take a lot, because I just use this wheel for nothing but carton rust blue off. It's all it's used for. And come over here to the hot water, rinse it off real good. It's all common sense, but I thought, you know what, I'll go over everything here. That way, like I am, you'd rather see it being done than explained or read it in a manual. Just want to clean it up real good. Want to make sure it's good and rinsed. Hot water. And what we'll do is we'll go in here and we'll put this back on the motor, and then we'll cut it on, and let's sling all the water that's in there off, and then we'll put some acetone on it, and we'll go over those steps when we get in there. All right, here we are back in the bluing room. I've already installed the wheel here on the machine here, and it's still wet, so basically what you want to do, you might want to move over there because it's going to sling water. That's my cameraman, Mr. Mike Miller. But anyway, just cut it on. Let that dry for a second. Spinning off any water that may be in there. Cut it off. And what I've got here in this little green can here is I've got some acetone. Let me explain this can too. This is a good opportunity right here. It's called a Sure Shot can. Basically what it is, it's a can that just compresses. You just put your acetone in here, or WD-40, and just put air in it. And I'm going to tell you, it'll really save you a lot of money, because I get my acetone, I get my WD-40, I get it in by the gallons. Of course, I got a can for everything. And it really does a really good job. And so basically, you just want to kind of spin it on there like that. Saturate it down real good with the acetone. And that's going to make sure it cleans any kind of grease that you might not have got, but I'm sure we got it all. And just let that dry and set up. You know, you can go ahead and cut it off and then spin the acetone off of there, and then cut it back off and spray it again. Just let that dry. By the time we get ready to use this, that thing should be bone dry. But that's a real handy can. Just thought I'd throw that tip in. And wanted to go ahead and tell you where you can get this wheel if you decide to go with this. You know, if you're doing the Diclofan IM or the Diclofan IM, it really works well instead of using the steel wool. Get it from Brownells. There's the part number of that. I'll just let him zoom in on that part number there, and that's the part number you'll want to get for this particular wheel to do this particular job. So what we'll do now is we'll get set up, and we'll get the bluing solution all set up and ready to go. And what I use is, I'll keep this handy. This is my distributing bowl. Usually in the past, you know, I'll pour the Express Blue in this, or the Diclofan Blue, and I'll apply it with this right here. But what I've done is, instead of using that, I went on ahead and incorporated an airbrush in, which seems to do a really good job. What I'll do is I'll empty this right here out. It's got some mineral spirits in it. And I'll fill this up with the solution. Now that way I ain't got to be fooling with that brush or anything like that. I'm going to keep it handy just in case something goes wrong with this. I can always convert over to that. But this here seems to do a really good job. I mean, it's going to put it on there good and steady. Well, I think everybody gets the idea. And we'll just spray it on there for 1 minute, and I'll explain all this as we're going, and then I'll use a blowtorch to kind of keep the metal hot. We'll just kind of go over each step as we go. All right. What we've done here is we went on ahead, and I went on ahead and heated up the hot water boiler tank back here, and then I went on ahead and heated up the 909. And I'll try to speak up, folks. I've got these fans going here, and I hope everybody can hear me, and I apologize if you can't, but I'll try to speak up as loud and as clear as I can. But anyway, we got these heating up right here. Meanwhile, what we're going to do is we got this barrel right here, and I've got the acetone. I'm going to spray it down real good. And let me say this: always either wear a respirator. In this case here, I'm not going to wear one today for the video's sake, but usually I'll wear a respirator. But right now, I'm in a real air-flowing area here, so it's just taking it right out. So I'm kind of staying out of the line of fire, so to speak, but definitely want to wear safety equipment. So anyway, just spray it down a little bit with acetone. Make the paper towel kind of wipe the metal down real good. Do all that, we'll take it, we'll put it here on our little rack. We'll take the rack and we'll put it in our 909. Heat the 909 up to about 180. Leave it in there for about 10 minutes. My timer all set right there. So when that beeps, we'll know to take that out, and then we'll go out of the 909 into our cold water rinse. And we'll rinse it off really good. And then after the cold water rinse, we'll take it out of that and we'll put it in our boiler tank for about 10-15 minutes. Heat the metal up real good at that point. And I'm going to go over these steps as we go. But after we take it out of the boiler tank, we'll put it over here on our little rack. And we'll let the metal dry really, really good. And I'll take a little blowtorch and I'll kind of assist it by keeping the metal hot. And at that point, after it's good and dry, what we're going to do is we're going to apply our Express Glue #1. Put that on for about a minute. And after I get it on there real good, I'll make sure everything's good and dry. Come out of there, take it off that right there after I apply the Express Glue #1, the first coat. I'll bring it back over here and put it in our boiler tank for 5 minutes. We'll kind of go over these steps as I do them. Kind of wanted to kind of give you a heads up of what's going to be happening as we do this video. So we'll let that sit in there for 10 minutes and then we'll start our next step. All right, while this is curing out, we got about another 8 minutes left. I thought I'd take this opportunity here to kind of go over some things. You know, just make sure you got all your acetone and stuff like that out of the line of fire, so to speak. In other words, keep it out of the heat zone. Safety first. But what I thought I'd do here is I thought I'd come over here. And what I did on this double barrel here is I blued the receiver and all the other parts. The only thing I didn't stick in the Oxane #7 tanks is the barrels. As I've explained, they're silver soldered or soft soldered and they'll come apart, so you don't want to put them in the bluing salts. That's the purpose of the rust glue. But what I've done here is I went over ahead and glued the other parts in the Oxane #7. I just dipped them in oil there. So whenever you're doing a job like this, if you can glue the parts in the Oxane #7, that's a good idea to do that. Ideally, it's better to do the barrels and everything if it's silver soldered. So I'll always go ahead, you know, and glue what I can glue in the Oxane #7 hot dip tank. And whatever can't be glued in that, I'll put the rust glue on. So I just thought I'd take a minute and explain that while we're waiting on the 909 to do its thing. And we'll just go on with the other procedures. Alright, here we are now. Fixing to come out of the 909 cleaning solution. Going to our cold water rinse. Hot water boil tank. I'll leave that in there for about 10 minutes. I'll go ahead and set a timer here. Hot water boil tank for about 10 minutes. This will be the first coating, so our next hot water boil tank will just be for 5 minutes from that point on after this one. Let that sit there and heat up, and then we'll come out of that over our catch tank there, and we'll apply our first coat of the Express Blue #1. Alright, we've been in there about 10 minutes. I've got these tongs here, and it doesn't really matter how you take them out of there, but I really enjoy these right here. Get a good hold on it. Take them out of there. What I always do is I always come over here and put it on the peg. I'll take these right here. Well, always want to have plan A and plan B. Shake them off, make sure you get all the water off of them. That metal's pretty hot, so it's going to evaporate pretty quick. What I always do to assist the drying is I'll take my little torch right here. Kind of keep the metal hot. You don't want to hope it don't, the barrel's too long. You don't want to melt the soft solder, but you definitely want to keep it warm. Incorporate right here and there. Just have some turns there. Right there. Down there. Basically, I'm just drying it out real good. Just want to make sure the metal stays kind of warm. I think what we'll do next time to make these pegs work is I'm going to put the muzzle in on this right here. I know we'll work on the chamber again. Do that right now, as a matter of fact. What we're going to do is we're going to cart that off with this wheel over here. There we go. We'll make sure everything's good and dry. Now our next step is going to be to kind of cart the rust off before we go to the first application of the Express Blue. We'll just come over here and we'll cut our wheel off. you see that pretty good, Mike? Everybody got a bird's eye view of that? Good deal. Pressure on it either. You want to just kind of moderately, just kind of press it. Get down there just enough to where the wire will get down into the little crevices. Kind of go over the whole thing, being real careful not to let it jerk it out of your hand or anything. So you just want to make sure you're in full control at all times. Places like that. Kind of going in one direction, long ways. Now then. We'll come back over here to the catch tank. Ever so slightly, put that end on there like that. You want that where you can control that and move that around. Alright, first we just now put our first coat of the Express Blue #1 on there. And it's best to leave it in the tank, the first coat, for about 10 minutes. You know, you'll start out with the raw metal. I usually leave it in there for 10 minutes, take it out, go over there and card it off real good with the wheel. Then I'll come back and after I get it all carded off, I'll spray I'll apply the Express Blue on there. Then we'll come back over into a hot water boil. We'll leave it in there for at least 10 minutes. So it's just about ready to come out. So we're going to take it, we're going to put it over in the little cart this coat here off. Being real careful to keep everything dry. And then we'll go with our second application of the Express Blue. So I'm just going to pick the back of the barrels up this. It's already turning black, which is a good sign. We'll just come over here and I'll get this second peg here. Make sure we get it all dry as we can before we go on to the next step. I'll just put it right here in this peg right here and I'll take our little torch. That's one of the good things about it. You ain't got to get in no hurry. Take your time, making sure everything's good and dry. Keeping the metal good and hot. Well, not so hot that you melt a soft solder. Just going to keep it nice and warm where it's uncomfortable to touch. I'll put it that way. Because I'm going to cart this off, this first coat, and it's going to, we just want to make sure there ain't no water left behind me. That airbrush, but the application, you can use this right here, which works really good too. I mean, sometimes I'll use this. Most time I've been using that airbrush, and it seems to work really good. But that's definitely an option, you know, airbrush. All right, I believe we got it pretty much dried off. I want to make sure it's dry, but we look straight. start carting it off. And you'll have blemishes in it, things like that. Don't pay no mind to them, they'll all go away. Keep everything light. What I like about this wheel is, it just seems to do more of a uniform job. I guess because I can really put a lot of pressure on it. Still got a little water left inside there. As long as we don't get it on the outside, we're good to go. Should have a uniform gray look to it. Gotta really get in no real big hurry because you're going to heat it back up with that blowtorch. Want to even everything up with this carding wheel, nice and even. We got some nice uniform color. That's just in the heat. It's still holding its heat pretty good. Want that wheel there, Mike. All right. We're going to apply our second coat. First, we're going to heat it back up. Like I said, it ain't got to be real hot, not at all. By doing it this way, you don't contaminate anything. As you let go, you put it right back in the bottle. When you use a hairbrush, put it on for about a minute. About 30 seconds, and then I'll take the other 30 seconds, and then what I'll do is I'll take the torch and kind of ride on that a little bit. The barrels are just going to get darker and darker, which is our goal to have a nice uniform color. You know, it takes you longer than a minute to put it on there, and it ain't the end of the world or anything. The back will pen to an iron, you don't want to put it on no more again. Just go back over here to a hot work oil. Scratch on it, it ain't in the world. That'll make it all in. Then I'm gonna come over here. I got this set for 5 minutes. We'll let that boil up for 5 minutes, and then we'll be ready for our third coat. Same principle, and we'll just keep walking through it till we get the desired look. All right, we're just about ready to take it out. Get ready to apply our third coat. Got about another 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second. Drain off in there as much as you can. Bring it over here. Let me shake it off a little bit. We rearranged the light, so hopefully everybody can see this a lot better. I'm gonna let that sit there for a minute, kind of evaporate some of that water. Meanwhile, I'm gonna fill our boiler tank back up. I don't ever like to fill this up to the top, about halfway, because it just takes longer for it to boil again. Always kind of keep this procedure like that. That way, by the time I'm done with that, it should be boiling ready for the dipping. Excess water off. Right here, folks, I want to show you. That's where a lot of your water comes. You'll notice anytime you do any kind of bluing or rust bluing, make sure that there's a hole right there and a hole right there in between that ribbon. Of course, you obviously don't want to go up into the chamber or anything, but definitely got to have those 2 holes there. And those are pressure holes. That's going to make sure that you know, any pressure will build up in there. So that's important that them are there. You can use a heat gun or a hair dryer, I guess. I guess like this torch right here for this. There we go. Just have to use kind of common sense with it. They no real. Set way, just kind of, just whatever it takes to get all that water out of there. This torture here does a really good job of it. Make sure you're wearing safety equipment and that you're in a well-ventilated area. In our case, we're in a well-ventilated area. For the video's sake, I'd probably have a dust mask on, but since we're making a video, kind of difficult to hear me anyway. Gotta keep them fans on. And I apologize if I'm muffling. That's drying up, it's pouring off. Maybe I can see a little bit of that light on. carting it off. Any kind of blemish you see, this wheel is wonderful for blending all them in. Of course, the more coat you put on it, most likely they're going to all fade away. Just go slow with it, no hurry. Really be careful around these areas right here. As you can see, it kind of wants to grab it. Don't want it to grab it and push it up against the wall or against the metal part of the wire wheel. This wheel does a really wonderful job of blending it all in. Better than using steel wool. That's steel wool. You won't get this kind of results with the steel wool. I mean, see how nice and even that is. I don't believe I'm strong enough to apply that much effort, I guess is the word I'm looking for, to produce such a good looking look. I mean, that's really blended in nice, really looks good. It's looking really good. The more coats we put on it, we're fixing to put our third coat on. It's really hard to say how many coats it's going to take. Usually about 8 coats, 8 to 10 coats. Safety kit. Try to stay in line with the wheel, but it does swing wire off every now and then. You don't want to get hit in the face with a little piece of wire. Alright, I think we got it carted off pretty good. Looking good. Get back up a little bit. Get ready for our third coat. You'll see some little blemishes here and there. Don't worry, most of the time they'll go away. The more coats you put on it. basically what I'm doing with this torch is I'm just drying the solution on there a little bit. Get ready to put it in the boiler. To see everything's good and dry. In there for another 5 minutes. That's our third coat. I always keep a little marking thing over here just in case I'm going to do it on that box. That's our third coat. What we'll do is we'll just cut the camera off. We'll just keep applying all our solution. I'll let you know how many solutions it took to achieve the color that we want on that. Won't bore you with going through all this. I think everybody's got the idea at this point. We'll just cut the camera off and we'll show you the finished product. Where I thought I'd go ahead and cut in here. We're getting ready to put the 6th coat on. We're on the 5th coat. I found my tool finally. Basically, you know, I'll just kind of show you how that works. It's pretty self-explanatory. Just a hook. Basically, take it. I just kind of want to show everybody these tips here. Lift it up that hook, and that way you can turn it down rods. Makes it a whole lot easier. Drain off. Take all that water off. Just keep doing this, you know, every time you get ready to put another coat. We're getting ready for the number 6 coat. Make sure everything's good and bone dry. Take the torch and we'll kind of dry up any water that might be left behind in between them barrels. I'm going to say probably about 6 or 7 coats, maybe 8. That should be all we'll need for these. They're really blowing up nice. Look like rusty right now, but once I card it off, you'll be able to see the difference. Double check for any dry spots. I do see a little water inside one of them holes there, but I don't think it's enough to speak of. I think it'll stay in there. Tell you what, this wheel is wonderful. That is really carting off nice. Just want to be careful with it, no hurry. The main thing with doing this kind of work, and I'm going to say this, kind of put a bug in people's ear, is you just don't want to get no real big hurt with it, because it'll slip off and it'll hit that metal nut on that thing, and then you got a whole new host of problems. So just take your time with it. I can see some water dripping out of that bottom half there, and that's fine. We'll just keep it on that. Keep our eyes on it. Get a little water on it in most cases. It ain't like the dicropamine. That dicropamine will definitely stain. I've been able to just polish the little stains right out. If it does get wet, that's what I like about this blue in solution here. It just seems to be a whole lot more forgiving, and it really does a great job. Still a little work involved, but all in all, it does a great job. When you set your wheel up, you want to set it up at a height to where you're comfortable. Watch it, you just seen it'll drag it down, it'll catch on that hook there, and just want to make sure you don't put yourself in a position where you can't get out of that. You can always think ahead, that's all. We'll go ahead and cart the rest of this off. I'll go ahead and put a number 6 coat on this. And we'll just keep putting it on there, probably about 6 or 7 coats all it's going to take, and then we'll show you the finished product. All right, folks, here we are about a week later after the video was all finished. What I wanted to do is I wanted to go ahead and give it some curing time and then show you the finished product here. I went on ahead and put the receiver together. I just wanted to show you how well the Oxonate number 7, which is what I blued the receiver and all the other components in. I wanted you to see how well it just kind of flowed together with the Markley Express Blue number 1. How well that matched up real nice. You can see how that looks. Give everybody a good look at that. I'm really pleased with the way that turned out. Really good, and that's a really good and durable rust blue finish. There's all kind of ways to do a rust blue. One of them is build a sweat box. It takes several days to do that method. Of course, we got the Dicropan blue and IM that I was accustomed to using, but I discovered the Markley, and I tell you, it's a really durable finish, really easy to apply, as you've seen on this video here, and I'm really pleased with the way that turned out. The fellow that brought this in, he just wanted me to blue the gun. He took the stock and the forearm, and he's refinishing that himself, and I can just imagine how good that's going to look when he puts the wood on this, the stock and the forearm. Man, that looks like a brand new shotgun. This gun's probably about 75 years old or older. But really turned out nice, really pleased with it. And just really amazed at how easy that was to do. What I did is after I got it blued, I soaked it in oil for about 30 minutes, the water displacing oil. And then I put it up on the rack to let it drain and cure for a good 24 hours. Of course, it's been cured now for about a week. Went on ahead and put the receiver together. Of course, the Oxonate number 7's the easiest method because all you do is polish the parts down and dip them all together. But it's a rather expensive method to get set up in. So I'm really pleased to use this rust blue method here, and it's really good for soft soldered barrels. And well, actually, you can put the whole gun in it. That's how easy it is, and relatively inexpensive to use. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here in the bluing room, and I'm going to go over some high points, showing the equipment you'll absolutely need for doing this bluing, and the equipment that isn't really necessary. I just use it because I have it in there, but you can achieve master results with minimum equipment, and I'll go over those points here in just a minute. All right, folks, here we are in the old bluing room again. It's a little quieter in here. I thought I'd take advantage of this quietness here and kind of go over some high points. I know the other day when we were making the video, of course, you know, ain't nothing about these videos rehearsed. But the other day when we were making them, I know there was a lot of fans going, a lot of muffling going on, and I was trying to speak up. So I don't know if everybody heard everything I was trying to say. So I thought, well, you know what, right now would be a good time to kind of go over the high points here with the Markley Bluing Express #1. The equipment you'll absolutely have to have. You know, if you're a shop or even an individual who wants to kind of do this for themselves, you don't want to mislead. You want to make sure that you have the proper equipment to do it, but we don't want to invest a lot of money in something we don't really need. So basically all you're going to need is you're going to need a way to polish your barrels down. I usually use a 140 polishing array. Get all the bad places out that can safely be gotten out. After I get it all polished down how I want it, I'll come in here and I'll clean it up real good with acetone. Just clean the barrels off real good, wear your respirator, or make sure you're in a well-ventilated area when you use acetone, obviously. And you just clean it off real good. You want to get all traces of oil and grease that might be on it. Our next step is we'll put it over in the rinse tank. And we'll put it over here, you know, rinse it off real good. If you hadn't got a fancy rinse tank like this one right here, all you really need is a hose pipe and a sink. Just hose it off real good, rinse it real good is what you're doing. After you get done rinsing it, you'll go from the rinse area to the hot water boiler tank. And you'll leave it in there for about 10 minutes. And what you're doing at this point is you're just heating up the metal. And of course that hot water is going to boil out any grease or anything that may be left in the pores of the metal, because it's going to open up the metal. So what you do is you just leave it in there for about 10 minutes. And if you don't have a 909 tank, it wouldn't hurt to leave it in there for 15 minutes. Like I said, you don't really need that 909, just that boiler there, and that acetone should clean it up sufficient enough to where it should be clean enough to take the bluing. After you leave it in there for 10 to 15 minutes, take it out, shake it off really good, and then just put it over here over your catch tank. And of course I used a blowtorch, but you don't have to. You can use a heat gun. Just kind of help that the assistant drying it real good with the heat gun until it's good and dry. And at this point, it's obviously still in the white, and you're going to see some surface rust forming. That's when you get it good and dry. Come over here to your wheel. Now this is something I would recommend that you definitely would use. And you can use steel wool. Make sure you clean it real good with acetone if you choose that route. But you can purchase one of these from Brynells. I think they're about 35 bucks, something like that. I know the part number to this wheel I showed on the video, but I'd strongly recommend using one of them over the steel wool. But anyway, you'll polish all the surface rust that might have accumulated during the boiling process. Polish it off, put it back over here over your catch tank. And this is when you'd apply your Markley Express Blue #1. And what I do is I try not to go over a minute as I'm applying it. I'm going to put it in nice even strokes. Apply it on there for about a minute. If you go over a minute, 2 minutes, probably going to hurt it. I know the Dicropane Blue and Iron, they recommend that you don't apply it no more than a minute. So I kind of keep that in the back of my head, but honestly, I went over a minute, you know, applying this particular blend right here, and it had really good results. That's what I like about this, it's really forgiving. Anyway, after you get it applied on there, and you've seen me using an airbrush. You don't have to use an airbrush, folks. I just happen to have one, because in the early days, that's what I used to apply the Dicropane Blue and Iron. Because in the early days, it's all I used was a rust bluing method. and worked out real good. Finally got to where I could afford the Oxnake number 7 Blue and Salts, which in my opinion is the best way to go. You just rack everything up on one rack after you get them polished. Go through your cleaning process and just dip everything that you've seen on the previous videos. There's some things you can't put in that, like the soft soldered double barrels. Anyway, after you get it all applied on there and dried real good and heat it back up with your heat gun, what you'll do is, you don't really want to heat the metal up no more than 150 degrees. Let me throw that in too. You don't want to heat it up so hot that it's going to melt the soft solder. So about 150 degrees is all you want to heat that up to, just to where it's just kind of, uncomfortable to touch. Use the back of your hand, make sure you got gloves on this whole process. Just kind of touch the metal, and if it's kind of, warm, that's good. Take it off of there, and that'd be your first coat. Then you'll come over here and put that in your hot water boiler, and you'll leave it in there for about 10 minutes, okay? And after 10 minutes, take it off, shake it off real good, get all the water that is on there that hadn't evaporated off, put it back over here, take your heat gun, just kind of assist the drying on that. And at that point, it's going to be dried on there, and then you'll take it off, and you'll come over here and you'll cart it off with this wheel right here. You'll want to be really careful when carting it off. I'm making these high points here because I don't want you to make any mistakes that I made. If you ain't careful, it'll slip off and hit the nut on the motor here that's holding the wheel on. So you just want to kind of be real careful with that. Don't want to have to work any harder than you have to. Go back and do things over again, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So once you get it all carted off, as you've seen on the video, bring it back over here, heat it back up with that heat gun or torch. I want about 150 degrees, and apply your second coat. Same method, applicator, air gun, whatever you want to use. I'd probably just use the applicator before I'd invest in the air gun or airbrush. Just put it on there long, even strokes, about a minute, maybe 2 minutes. Dry it real good with your heat gun or your torch. Take it off, put it in your hot water boiler. This time you're going to leave it in there for 5 minutes. And you'll repeat this process after you get about, 7 to 8 coats on there. You should be done. As you're polishing it, what you're watching for is you're watching for any blemishes. And the more coats you put on there, it's only going to get so dark. At this point here, after about 6 or 7 coats, it's only going to get so dark. If there's any blemishes, they'll start fading away. So, if you went and put 10 coats on there, or maybe even 15, it ain't going to get no darker, but it's going to be really uniformed and no blemishes. And that's kind of the goal here, to just get a nice dark color on there. And we want the blemishes to go away. After the last coat, you've done carted it off. You're really happy with the way it looks. I always come over here and I'll put it over the catch tank. And at this point, I'll take my heat gun, I'll heat it back up to about 150 degrees. You want the metal to be kind of warm. And then I'll take it over and plunge it in my water displacing oil. And I'll let it sit in there for about 30 minutes. And then I'll put it up on the rack and let it cure for about 24 hours. Now listen, if you don't have the water displacing oil, that's kind of an expensive oil to get. I get it from Brownells. You can get away with just using WD-40. Just spray it real good with the WD-40 while the metal's warm, and just put it somewhere where it can cure for 24 hours. And that's really all you need. You don't need no whole bunch of fancy equipment to use this Markley Express Blue number 1. Like I said, it's a whole lot more forgiving than the Dichro-Pan, although I like the Dichro-Pan, but I think if I had it to do over again, that's what I would have chose over the Dichro-Pan, because in my opinion it seems to do a better job with less work. I think I went over everything. Holders, for instance. Now what I did is I just purchased some dowel rods. Of course I have a lathe, and I just cut these steps in there, and kind of make my own little dowel rods up. And you can leave them in there and stick them in the water, but I never did like doing that because it wants to absorb water, and it's just hard to get them dry. So I always try to take them out, and instead of putting them in the water. You can use a broomstick or a mop stick. You don't have to spend money on dowel rods, so that's going to save you money. And just take your knife and whittle it out. You ain't got to have a lathe to put them steps in there. So anyway, I think I went over everything. If you have any questions, feel free to give me a call. Area code 615-746-9668. I'll be happy to answer any questions I can for you. If you have any work like this you might want done, feel free to give me a call, and we'll discuss the situation depending on what the backlog is, whether I can take it in or not, discuss price and all that. But just give me a call, and we'll talk about your situation, and we'll just take it from there. And as usual, I appreciate everybody watching these videos.